Hey everybody, Jake and Gino here coming at you with Financial Freedom Fridays. And today it's part one on what the parents can do. G-Dad, how you doing?
Mr. Stenziano, doing great, bro. How are you?
Doing very well, my friend.
So, what do we say, Jake and Gino? Very simple. People with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. Let me say that again, everybody. People with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. What does that mean? Once you have your finances under control, once you have that all under control, you can start living an abundant life, from a life of scarcity to a life of abundance. And that's what we're creating here in the Jake and Gino community. And that's why we've created the Youth Academy. Not only for youths and young adults, this is also for parents who want to teach their children on how to become financially free, or even just to learn about money, learn about banking, learn about investments. And what we're going to be doing over the next several weeks, we're going to be having this weekly Friday Financial Freedom Fridays. And the first lesson here we're going to be talking about is, what can parents do? Lesson number one is very important. What can we do as parents? The first thing we can do is we can be role models. Now, what does that mean to everybody out there? To be a role model is to do what you say and say what you do. Be the role model. If you're going to talk about cutting debt, you can't carry thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of credit card debt in your life. And if you do, what you do is you act like the leader and say, hey, listen, this is what I have. I've made mistakes. I'm owning up to my mistakes and I'm getting better, right? You don't go to a doctor to try to lose weight and then the doctor weighs 400 pounds. There's a disconnect there, right? You don't do that. So if you're going to be talking about finance with your children see what's going on. They see the life you're living. And if you're being incongruent with what you're saying, they're going to pick up on that and they're not going to follow you.
Gino, it's such a great point. And the scary thing is the lack of financial IQ that I see in the youth in our country, and people not understanding credit, not understanding loans, not understanding how to operate in a financial universe. And that's what we're trying to change here. And the best way that you can do it is to be the role model and to live the values and incorporate your children into the journey. If you're going to get a car, explain to them, we're getting a loan for the car. Explain to them the loan process. Explain to them the reason why you're doing it, and incorporate the children. The other thing is, it's funny that my Uncle Vinny always used to say, the best way to raise good kids is to spend time with them. So even if you're going to the dealership to look at it and you might have the conversation with the finance manager, incorporate your kids on that to the best of your ability. One of the things that I love to do is that when we're closing on deals, I love to take my daughter with me. My son's a little too young yet, but I mean, how many 5-year-olds go to multi-million dollar, loan transactions and multifamily transactions at a title company? And she loves it. They always have cupcakes. They make it a warm and inviting experience for her. So you bring people into your life that are also going to accommodate for that. That's why we love using the title company that we do. So I think it's creating the environment that's going to allow for this type of nurturing and learning to take place.
Love that, Jake. The next one, always discuss money. Don't be afraid about talking about money. And Jake said, one of my favorite things to do is when they're a little bit older, 9, 10, 11 years old, I like to bring them to the grocery store. And I like to bring them when we buy all of our groceries. So they see the grocery bill and they're shocked and they're horrified at the hundreds of dollars we're spending, right? All of a sudden they're making a connection. They're thinking they're getting a lot of money for their birthday when they get $50. I'm like, yeah, that can't even buy us lunch, kids, right? So discussing the money and making them understand, wow, you need all this to feed us, Dad? You need all this for the mortgage? You need $30 to fill up the gas tank? Make them understand what money is buying, where the value of money is. And once they see that, they'll make that connection. They'll start making that connection that, wow, okay, we need this much money to buy this. And discussing money all the time and being open about it. That's what the Youth Academy is all about. Just to start the conversation naturally. Get them talking about money. And once they can start talking about something, what you fear holds you back. If you're afraid of money, you're going to be afraid of making it. You're going to be afraid of spending it. It's coming from that scarcity mindset. If you're open and honest talking about money with kids, they're going to have a lot less fear around money.
Yeah, they need to understand the value, what things cost. And that's why, it's something simple. It's something that I grew up with. Make sure that your kids have chores and an allowance, and then you hold them accountable. And then what we like to do in my household is we have our family huddle every Sunday, and we review how to go this week at work. because that's their job now. The chores are the job. How to go feeding Ragnar. That's we got this little Yorkie thing. I guess he's a dog. Anyways, but we talk about that, and like, it's like, hey, honey, if you missed, you may have a reduction in your allowance this week if you miss feeding the dog, because that's not my responsibility. That's yours. So these things are important, and they help teach. The other thing is, we like to have parent rules. It's every week we review the parent rules out loud. It's sort of like reading the Constitution every week. And that makes a big difference. That way, when there's a violation, always listen to mommy and daddy the first time. Hey, we know we're struggling with this one. This is a violation of the parent rules. And then there's like, you get this shrug and things, but it does make an impact. So that's something that we've used very effectively.
Jake, I'm going to share the last tip with all the listeners out there. Next week, we're going to go into more things that parents can do, because there's so many things that we can do. Actually, I lied. Let me share two more with you, because it's really important. Right. The first one, let's teach price versus value. We're always so focused, and this is for the adults also. We're always so focused on what something costs, but what is it worth, right? Zig Ziglar made a quick story. You go out and you buy a bicycle for $10. You use that bike for 1 year, it costs you $10. If you go out and buy a bike for $50, right, and you use it for 5 years, that bike still costs you $10 a year. You got 5 years worth of use out of it. So don't only just look at the price of something. Look at what the value is to you. If you can make a child understand that, it'll be eye-opening. And even for the adults out there, man, we're always so price conscious, but what is that object or what is that thing going to bring to you as far as value goes? To me, that's really important. And the last thing, Jake, create a budget with your kids. If you don't have a budget for yourself, shame on you. You need to have a budget, because a budget is a control in your life. It's like a blueprint of what you're spending, not only what you're spending, but money coming in plus money going out. And then what's left over for you. And then you can focus on the income, money that's coming in. You need to make more money. Well, what do you need to do there? And then once all that money is coming in, how are you spending it? How are you allocating it? This will give you more control. Can you imagine if your 12-year-old knows exactly how much money you're spending on the groceries and how much money you spent on Amazon last month? I'll bet you 5% of the population knows that number right now. If you start creating a budget, you will save between 10 to 15% of your money. All of a sudden, it will magically appear because you know where it's going. It's all about control. Wouldn't it be great to know at the end of the month that you had X amount of money left over, putting that into your financial freedom account or doing whatever you want with it? It's not living below your means. It's just knowing where to allocate your dollars. If you're spending too much on one thing, pull it out and go spend it somewhere else. That control is amazing.
Yeah, and what we also try to do is only allow cash purchases. So, right now it's an outdated sort of method, but we only allow cash purchases for my daughter with her allowance. And so what that forces her to do is actually go to Target, see how much something costs, and then we'll talk about, okay, how many weeks will it take of allowance to actually buy this? Is this worth it? And that's creating that sort of value comparison that Gino talked about, and then actually transacting with real dollars and doing the math. So there's a math lesson in there as well. So hopefully someday she watches this and looks back and realizes that there was a plan in place, but we'll see, right?
I love that, bro. Listen, everyone out there, be on the lookout. Next week, we're going to talk about more of what parents can do. Mr. Stenziano, thanks a lot. Let's go out there. Let's make it happen, everybody.
Thanks, Gino.